The other day I was doing my regular nighttime routine of watching GMTK videos and listening to my roommate sleep talk, and I came across this one video talking about following the fun when game developing. I started to think, what about my game is fun? What will bring an audience in and make them want to play my game? And the more I thought about it, the more I realized I don't like my game. Let me just give you a visual representation of how my game looks since I have this whiteboard here. I'm going to draw a Venn diagram of my game and fun. So here we have crude in office. And then way over here, we have fun. There's not a lot of correlation happening between the two. When I first set out to make my game, I thought making a game about Trump will be hilarious. You know, Trump is topical, there's plenty of new stuff happening about him every day that I can always just throw into my game. But the more stuff he did, the more I became pretty tired of watching the news and recreating the things that he does in a video game. And I think that that sentiment is shared by my viewers in the past couple of videos. But I do think that there is some useful stuff happening in my game that I can repurpose into something that might actually come closer to having fun elements. So if we break my game down into its core elements, we basically have Biden. And then we have a target. Let's call it Mint. Biden wants to get to the Mint, but I don't want him to get there before passing by one of my numerous buildings. When we look at it like this game could really go in a number of different ways. So I started brainstorming, I sat down during one of my opera rehearsals and I thought, what could this scenario look like? What I landed on was you're building a mall and you have customers that want to get to the exit, but you have to build a bunch of shops and entertainment centers that they will then go into and spend money at before leaving. Basically, it's like any other tower defense game, but instead of draining the enemy's health, you are draining your customers' wallets. If you ask me, this game sounds a lot more like something that I personally would play, and all of my friends seem to agree, so I got working. I seem to have a lot more ideas that came naturally out of this concept. I could have maybe a roller skating rink where customers go in and they spend a lot of time, but then when they leave on roller skates, so they leave a lot faster and maybe they can't go to other shops. Maybe you have a laser tag place where customers spend a lot of money playing laser tag, and then whenever they leave, they keep on playing laser tag in the hallways. Maybe you have a slot machine where customers will spend lots of money, but they can only get in if they are above the age of 21. So with a bunch of ideas flowing through pretty naturally, I decided to get going. First, I needed to completely revamp the artwork. So I made this totally sleek entrance and exit artwork, and also a very minimalist, very nice tile map sprite that adds a lot of visual flair to my game. And I made it so that you can move around the camera throughout the game scene. Then I added in this guy. He's called Button Manager, and he does a lot of heavy lifting in this project. Basically, Button Manager checks whenever a button is clicked and then places down its respective building and deletes the button after that building has been spawned. It also deals with the spawning of new buttons whenever you are given new objects to place in your inventory. It's a lot more work than it sounds, so give this guy a break. He's doing his best. He also stole a lot of the logic from my old logic script, so that guy is looking pretty barren at this point. I also created a system where Button Manager has a bunch of slots. Whenever a button is added to your inventory, it will fill up the lowest slot. And if one of these buttons is placed down, the next button over will fill its spot naturally. Then I added in an entrance, and basically the entrance spawns in a bunch of NPCs that then go to an exit to There's a samba concert going on in the theater in this building right now. But right now, these customers can just walk wherever they want to get to the exit, but I don't want that. So I added in pathways that you place down that have to be placed next to each other, and then the NPCs will follow that pathway to get to the exit. This uses the same A-star pathfinding that I created in last week's episode, so if you want a bad explanation of how that works, then you should check out that video. But right now, this game is still pretty boring. Basically, all you do is go from an entrance to an exit, so I wanted to add in an arcade. But the problem here is that the arcade can only be placed next to a path that isn't the entrance or the exit. And I actually had a lot of trouble getting this to work in my game. I spent multiple days troubleshooting it, but once this arcade placing got figured out, it was really something to behold. It was a beautiful moment. But wait, there's more. But I can't talk about it right now because this video is late and I have to save that stuff for next week's video. So if you want to keep up with the development process of this game, make sure to drop a subscribe and a like. I upload weekly videos unless I don't, and they are always at least okay quality. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.